I wanted to go over some bullet points and talk about a priesthood. So Phineas, through his righteous act, God gave him the eternal covenant of priesthood. And we know that there's an eternal priesthood called the Order of Melchizedek. But I want to read in Revelation where Messiah, it says, Revelation 5:9, "You are worthy to take the scroll and to strip away the seals, because you were innocently slain, and by the shedding of your blood you have paid the death penalty for the breaking of the covenant, and you have redeemed to Yahweh those out of every kindred and tongue and people and nation. You have made them to be kings and priests to Yahweh." And I had talked about before how Adam was a king priest in the garden, and what he was to do was to dress and to keep it, was to keep the way to the tree of life. He was to keep the commandments and keep the way to the tree of life. And since he didn't do that, a flaming sword came to guard the way to the tree of life. And in the end, in Revelation, it talks about that there is a gate before the tree. And those who keep the way to the tree of life, those who are in covenant, those who keep the commandments, because this is chapter 22 of Revelation, it says those who keep the commandments have right to the tree of life and access through the gates into the city. But anyway, from Adam to Revelation, it was about a king priesthood. In Revelation, God brings them back to be a king priesthood. In Exodus 6 and 4:12 and 19, he said, "I have established my covenant and take you for a people, and I will be your God, and you will be my people, and you'll be a kingdom of priests." It's mentioned throughout the Bible. In Revelations 5 and Revelation 21, where I just read that through the Passover, through Messiah, as Passover Lamb, he's made us kings and priests, and we are his people, and he is our God. And this is through covenant. But one thing that we need to focus on is really what it means to be a king and a priest. It's not just a title. So Hebrews 7 says, "For this Melchizedek, king of Salem, priest of the Most High God, who met Abraham, returning from the slaughter of the kings, blessed him." And then the king brought him bread, and they talked, and Abraham gave him a tithe. But in Hebrews, it talks about Messiah being a priest. Christ's priesthood is eternal, a priest forever of the order of Melchizedek. And the name means righteous, king of righteousness, because Melech is king, and Sadiq is righteous. And we are to be righteous. When I had talked about Phineas in the video previously, it was through his righteous act that he stopped the plague. He stopped the destroyer from killing the rest of the Israelites. And I'm going to come back. I'm going to talk about in First Maccabees, where it's talking about Phineas, and where Josephus talks about the abomination of desolation, because these things are supposed to happen again. And I want to go over what it means to be a kingdom of priests, a royal priesthood, a priesthood. That's basically it. These are things that we're supposed to be doing as children of the Most High. In my study notes in Exodus, where I was studying priests, kings and priests, it says that he wanted a kingdom of priests, Exodus 19. And he was making it clear that he was bonding with the nation, not with individuals. And we see this in the end with, through Messiah, because it says you will become the body of Messiah. You will be one man. You will be one, and not individuals, where the individuals make up in unity one, become one. And that's what happens in the end, that we are to come together as one. And I'm going to go over something else if I can find it. Through the law first mentions that, God's original plan was firstborns to be the king, be the priests of the family. And we know now, Messiah is first fruits, firstborn. But duties of a priest is not just taking care of your house. One should be aware that the household of the firstborn is not just his immediate family, but it is all of Israel. So we take this over to us as believers. It's not our household that we are the priesthood and leader for. We are of all of the body of Messiah. And, people want to, shrug off the responsibility of what we're supposed to be doing, like as if we don't have anything to do. We just earn a title and that's it. But that's not how it goes. We have responsibilities and duties. And that's why Messiah in the end, he says, I know your works. It's talking about your job as a king priesthood. What have you done? In Matthew 25, I think it is, where he's talking about, feed the hungry, clothe the naked, visit the sick and the people in prison. And, when he sent out his disciples, what did he say? Heal the sick, set those free that are captive. There are things to do, and it's for the whole body. But I want to come back to what the requirements, what the things that we are to do as a king priesthood. But two of the main things that we should have is mercy and justice, because those are the things that the earth was founded on, and that is two things that are required as a priesthood. If you don't have mercy and justice, you cannot you cannot do righteous acts. You, like Phineas, you know. You're supposed to be a peacemaker, and to do justly. And to do that, you have to know what the laws of justice are, just the same as any judge in this physical realm. They learn the laws of the land. But for us, we have to learn the laws of God and his judgments. And we can only hand those out justly if we love mercy, because we take everything into consideration. I think I'm going to stop here. Well, I do want to mention this. When the children of Israel were coming out of Egypt, and the last plague was the plagues of the firstborn. It was really about priesthood. You know, the Passover is a meal to celebrate the redemption of the firstborn. Passover celebrates the priesthood of all the firstborn. When he had them come out of Egypt, he said, now consecrate to me all the firstborn. It was about the king priesthood. Yeah, and I'll just continue talking about this because it's what we really need to be focusing on. Kings and priests, and what it means to be a king priest.